no longer are true to your cause. Or you can take a debt. Now, when you take a debt, you just take the top card, and the one nice thing about taking a debt is that if you have a slain unit, they immediately go back into play exhausted. So you actually do like gain the person back. I don't know if you like someone take the debt and you bring them back to life or what, but that's the one good thing about taking a debt. But when you take a debt, and you can only take 3 of these, it has a condition that you can use to pay it off. And this one says, repay by performing the following command. Gift a played courtier card to another player. So if you have one of those cards in front of you that you've played and it's giving you a bonus, you can give that to somebody else, then you can get rid of this debt. And that's where these debts come in to play. Also, there's a lot of different tiebreakers and things like that as far as when you win the game, the people with like the least number of debts wins the game, and so on and so forth. So whereas sometimes you'll be forced to take these, and you'll be forced to take them a lot actually, you don't want to hold on to them a long time. Especially since a lot of times this might be the only way that you're able to get rid of shame, and you don't want to be kicked out of the game. But once you've taken care of that, you levy your taxes in summer, which means that for each spot you control, you gain your resources for that spot. And then finally, after all that, you finally get to take your actions. When you act, you can move, or you can use an agent that isn't exhausted. You can hire a new one. You can play an influence card. You can clear a debt. You can trade with the bank. By trading with the bank, you can just you spend 2 coins to get a conscript, or you can get 2 conscripts for a coin. And basically any other card that you have that just says use this card as a command. And you can do as many of these as you want as long as you have the resources to back up what you're doing. Each different unit costs a certain amount. Knights are really expensive. You need 3 of those conscript dolls and a coin to recruit one of them, because they're like the most powerful. And whereas a priest is like just a 1 coin or a conscript, or a spy is just 2 coins, things like that. But once you are actually using these units, I'm going to explain what each one does. Knights are like your warriors, obviously, a big sword here. Knights can kill off nobles and other knights very, very easily. There is no dice in this game. If you're in a situation where green has their knight here, blue has their knight here, blue's going first, you can, as your knight, you get 2 actions. You can take 1 action to move, and you can take 1 action just to kill the other knight that's in that spot. Now, obviously, you probably wouldn't be in this situation. Maybe blue and green had an agreement not to attack each other, but blue finally decided enough's enough. I'm going to take you out. Nobles, these little these crown guys, they can kill off nobles just as easily as knights can kill off nobles. And I should be noted that let's see, that noble was there, and it was green's turn. The green guy can go in and hack this duke or this whatever this noble is. He can kill him off just as easily as killing off a knight. It doesn't cost anything extra. Nobles are also able to fight. So if there was a green noble there, this blue baron or whatever goes in there and decides that they're going to kill that one off, and and he kills enough. Now, let's say it's a green knight that's over here. Nobles can't kill off knights with just 1 action. They have to use a double action. Somehow, if for whatever reason this noble and this knight were sharing this spot, this blue noble could take a double action to kill off this knight. Now, knights are also able to destroy castles. The same deal. It's a double action. You can't just kill off a castle with 1 action. So I couldn't be here and move here to do it. You have to actually be in that location. Now, you might be saying, well, geez, it's pretty easy to kill off those things. Well, a knight that's in the same location as a castle that he controls can't be just killed off. You actually have to kill off the castle before you can actually kill off the knight that's there. Castles are also important because those are the places where your new hires show up. And those are the only locations they can show up. So if you don't have any castles, you're pretty much out of the game. As a matter of fact, if you do lose your last castle, you are ousted from the game. Now, these are they're pretty self-explanatory. Nobles, knights, Those guys are running around the board, hacking each other to bits. Though nobles do have one really cool ability. Nobles have the ability to go to a spot where there's a priest that's been exhausted. And if they're on the same location, they can ready that priest. So if you have a situation where a priest has moved and they're now exhausted, if you can get a noble there and they can take that action, and they can get that priest ready to go again. Now, this is where it gets fun. Priests have the ability to also ready a spy. So if you have a spy that you've moved and is in a location, so like let's just say, and the noble moves here, he readies that priest again. Because like let's say the priest just started over here and he moved here, he got exhausted. He goes there, readies him, he moves over here, he readies this spy, and all of a sudden the spy gets to take his action and do whatever it is that your dastardly spy was going to do. So you can see where it starts to chain together like that. Priests also have the ability to make a diplomatic offering by giving an influence card that you have to another player, as long as they enter in the other spot. Now, you might be saying, well, why would I want to do that? Say like this priest shows up in the same location as this knight, and I go, hey, blue guy, you can have this card. Now, a lot of people would say, well, why would you do that? Well, since this game is all about negotiation and figuring out what you're going to do, you may have actually told blue, you're going to need this card on this turn for you to take out red over here, otherwise red's going to win the game. And so that's a situation that you can do to hand that off. Now, priests also have the wonderfully fun ability, if they're in the same location as a spot that's controlled by another player, they can use what's called their shaming ability. And they can just shame the other location, and you can give another person this shame token. Basically, the priest denounces that noble house for being a bunch of I don't know, full of perversions and horrible non-church-going attitudes. And so they automatically get that shame token, which they have to take care of on their turn. Now, priests are really cool, but they're not nearly as cool as spies. Spies live a life fraught with danger and intrigue. Spies are the only piece that can assassinate priests and spies. They're the only piece that can basically grab other people's players and take them and control them, or like take somebody else's units and bribe them, so to speak, and get them to come over to your way of thinking. And they also have the ability to basically just wreak havoc. Spies, because of the fact that they can't be really taken care of, and they can't really they can move amongst the other people's players freely. It's never a comfortable moment when you've convinced another player to say, okay, I need to just move my spy through your territory so I can go and take care of Bob over there. And you're like, okay, go ahead, and then there's that wonderful tense moment as the other player is moving his spy through your spot, and you're waiting for him to just screw you over at any possible chance. Spies do have the one thing, is once they are used for any of their abilities, they are retired. You take them and you put them basically because they've been revealed for a spy, and they can no longer ever be trusted, and so you have to repurchase them. But that's the life of the spy, and they're so useful that and relatively cheap that you'll be using lots of them during the game. Now, that gives you a pretty brief and theoretically thorough overview. Once everybody's taken their turn, you finish off the year, you start up the next year, you figure out who claims this card, you give this card to that person, you move this one over, you turn over the next trophy, you place that one down, and you move on, and you play the next turn, and then you do that again, and you play the next turn. But it's theoretically simple to play, but there's so much more to it, because you're constantly worried about what your other players are doing. You might be talking to one of your friends off to the side, saying, okay, you need to go and do this, you need to go and do that. And then you get back to the table and all of a sudden they wander off with that person that supposedly you're scheming against, and they come back and they got a smile on their face and they're like, okay, well, let's take our turns, and things like that. But it's not an overly complex game, but it is complex when you take into account just how much negotiation and how much intrigue and how much backstabbing goes on during a normal game. All right, well, let me tell you exactly what I think.